going to do a whirlwind tour of Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. So we are still on the mainland here. And here, of course, is the mainland. We're going to start here with Thailand. Notice that this area, the whole part of the mainland, the northern part of the mainland, is very, very mountainous. Thailand has some very pretty high mountains in the north, but for an awful lot of the country, we've got lower elevations. When we talk about Laos and Vietnam, the mountains are a much larger piece of the terrain. So Thailand was formerly known as Siam. So if you're familiar with the story of The King and I or Anna and the King of Siam, this is where that story was set. And it was never colonized. This acted as a buffer state. Siam was a buffer state between the British Empire that was over here in the west and France, which colonized the eastern part of the mainland. They were the two main colonizers of the mainland. We'll see other players over here in the insular part of Southeast Asia. But on the mainland, the main two colonizers were the British and the French. Okay? And Thailand was the buffer between them. And so it was never colonized. It remained independent. The king remained in control, and there is still a king in the country. Okay? So here is what it's actually labeled as Siam, and you can see the British flags here and the French flags over here. And yet again, we have a Buddhist country here. It's not the only religion there, but it's still a large part of the population. And again, we have the fairly characteristic kind of triangle, tall, slender shapes that go with these temples. And this is one of the most famous of the temples in Thailand. So I mentioned that there is a king. There's also a prime minister. But the king is the head of state, and this is the former king. He died just a few years ago. He reigned for a very long time. And there are extremely strict laws about criticizing the king or the government. You can actually be thrown into jail for even saying that you disagree with something that the government is doing. So this has been a fairly repressive government for a while. The king was seen as kind of the father of the country. He was incredibly popular. You see him wearing yellow here. That is the color of the royal family. It's seen as a very a strong color for good luck and good health. And most people in Thailand have yellow clothing that they wear at least one day a week. I think it's Thursdays, where people all wear yellow to honor the king. So there's this very strong connection and link to the king. But that has changed in the last few years since he died. Okay, so his son has taken over. But there have been increasing protests against his government and against the military control. The military is a very strong presence in Thailand. And the last few months, there have been widespread protests and actual criticism of the king. And that is a big change for Thailand. And there are increasing concerns that this might lead to a military coup, that it wouldn't be the first time in Thailand. There might be more widespread violence, and there's a growing concern about the political stability in Thailand. This article was from the end of October, so this is ongoing. This is the present king, the son of the man in that last slide. And he is somewhat a controversial figure. He has been seen as a playboy and not a very serious man for a very long time. He spends most of his time abroad and in places like Germany. And there are increasing calls for him to take his job more seriously, right? That's a criticism. And that he needs to focus on the needs of his people rather than playing in other countries. And he also has been involved in a number of crises and scandals in the past few years. He's been divorced a couple times. His latest wife, who he just recently made up with, apparently, was stripped of her title, and her family was charged with embezzlement. Right? And whether or not that was true is not actually clear, but there's been a lot of scandal linked to his name. And this is actually his back. This is him right there. It's not necessarily how you might think of a king looking, right? But that's him. And this is his favorite dog. He loves dogs, apparently, and this dog was so beloved by him that he actually made him the head of the Air Force. Right, so it's that kind of thing where people are very concerned about how seriously he takes his job and the stability of the government. Okay. And then this was just a couple days ago. He returned from Germany because things had been getting shaky, and he's been making conciliatory comments. He's been trying to calm things down and reach out to people. And after all of these months of protest, there may be some reforms coming. So that has just happened in the last couple days, on Sunday night of this last week. So this is definitely something to watch. Thailand is also incredibly famous for its hospitality and for its tourism. This is a thing that they have been working on for a very long time, of encouraging people to come and visit the country. This is one of the most famous night markets, where there's a whole lot of street food. They're famous for the markets that look like this, and there are also some markets on canals. The capital, Bangkok, it has a whole bunch of canals through it, and there's also night markets and markets during the day that take place on the boats. I'll show you a couple pictures of those when we talk about the Mekong. So tourism is a huge industry in Thailand, and a lot of it focuses on that picture of the temple that I showed you, and on things like night markets and shopping and street food. And you may have noticed that there are an awful lot of Thai restaurants. That focus on food is a large part of the Thai culture. The combination of foods and tastes is seen as a huge goal of balancing your life and having your food balanced. And there are a large number of Thai restaurants here in the United States. And it turns out that this is actually an official Thai government policy to try to build bridges in other countries, to spread their culture, to make people more interested in traveling to Thailand, right, to attract money. All of this, it's actually an official government policy where the Thai government was sponsoring people and paying for them, funding people to go and open Thai restaurants all over the world, not just the United States. So the number of Thai restaurants in the United States is much higher than the percentage of Thai people actually in the United States. And I've put an article about this. This article actually is up. And this is an example of soft power. People are, the Thai government is working to create a positive image of Thailand and Thai food. And it is an example of globalization, the spread of culture, the spread of their ideas and their approach. And so this is actually a kind of soft power called gastro diplomacy. Gastro meaning food, and diplomacy, obviously diplomacy. Right? So the fact that there are Thai restaurants all over the place, including Kansas, we even have some Thai food here at a couple different restaurants, is actually a piece of that pattern of globalization that we've been talking about, and the growing influence of soft power all over the world, of trying to influence other people to appreciate and have a positive image of your country through friendly cultural means. Yeah. Okay, gonna pause here, and then we'll come back and we will talk about Laos and Vietnam.